Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodhanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tera Vanasari Jamuna Tera Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jagati Janavallabha Girivardhari Jagati Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodhanandana Brajajanarandana Tera Vanasari Yamuna Tera Vanasari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Jai Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Pimanandi Dayam Shupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Thirabai Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtana Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Chakshurandritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Vibhishakanvitam Sya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hare Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyascha Vipa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Bhavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamritam Uttama Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Hamyam Swasya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinatharanam. Yatkripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinatharanam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We continue from 7th canto, chapter 14, entitled Ideal Family Life. And today we are looking at text number 8. Yavad Briyeta Jataram Tabat Satvam Hi Dehinam Adhikum Yo Bhimanyeta Sa Steno Dandam Arhati Yavat Briyeta Jaharam Yavat Briyeta Jataram Tavat Swatvam Hidehinam Adhikam Yo Bhimanyeta Sasteno Dandam Arhati Yavat Priyeta Jataram Tavat Swatvam Hidehinam Adhikam Yo Bhimanyeta Sasteno Dandam Arhati Yavad Briyeta Jataram tavat swatvam hidehinam ahikam yo bhimanyeta sasteno dandam arhati
yavat priyeta jataram tavat sattvam videhinam adhikam yo bhimanyeta
sasteno dandam arhati yavat priyeta jataram tavat sattvam videhinam adhikam yo bhimanyeta sasteno dandamarhati yavat priyeta jataram tavat sattvam videhinam adhikam yo bhimanyeta sasteno dandamarhati yavat priyeta jataram tavat sattvam videhinam adhikam yo bhimanyeta sasteno dandamarhati yavat priyeta jataram tavat sattvam videhinam adhikam yo bhimanyeta sasteno dandamarhati yavat as much as priyeta may be filled jataram the stomach tavat that much sattvam proprietorship he indeed dehinam of the living entities adhikam more than that yaha anyone who abhimanyeta may accept saha he stena a thief dandam punishment arhati deserves. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. One may claim a proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain body and soul together. But one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. Kindly repeat after me. One may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain body and soul together. But one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. Report. By God's favor, we sometimes get large quantities of food grains, or suddenly receive some contribution or unexpected profit in business. In this way, we may get more money than needed. So how should that be spent? There is no need to accumulate money in the bank merely to increase one's bank balance. Such a mentality is described in Bhagavad Gita 16:13 as Asurik, demoniac. Idam madhya maya labdham imam prapsye manotaram idam astidam apime bhavishyati punar dhanam. Translation: the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, so much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. End of quotation. The Asura is concerned with how much wealth he has in the bank today and how it will increase tomorrow. But unrestricted accumulation of wealth is not permitted either by the Shastras or in the modern age by the government. Actually, if one has more than one requires for his necessities, the extra money should be spent for Krishna. According to the Vedic civilization, it should all be given to the Krishna consciousness movement as ordered by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 9:27. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad yohoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Translation: O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering to me. End of quotation. Grihastas should spend extra money only for the Krishna consciousness movement. The Grihastas should give contributions for constructing temples of the Supreme Lord and for preaching of Srimad Bhagavad Gita or Krishna consciousness all over the world. Srinvan Bhagavato Bhikshnam Avatara Katam Ritam. In the Shastras, the Puranas, and other Vedic literatures, there are so many narrations describing the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everyone should hear them again and again. For example, even if we read the entire Bhagavad Gita every day, all 18 chapters, in each reading we shall find a new explanation. That is the nature of transcendental literature. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, affords one an opportunity to spend his extra earnings for the benefit of all human society by expanding Krishna consciousness. In India especially, we see hundreds and thousands of temples that were constructed by the wealthy men of society who did not want to be called thieves and be punished. This verse is very important. As stated here, one who accumulates more money than needed is a thief, and by the laws of nature, he will be punished. One who acquires more money than necessary becomes desirous of enjoying material comforts more and more. Materialists are inventing so many artificial necessities, and those who have money, being allured by such artificial necessities, try to accumulate money to possess more and more. This is the idea of modern economic development. Everyone is engaged in earning money, and the money is kept in the bank, which then offers money to the public. In this cycle of activities, everyone is engaged in getting more and more money, and therefore the ideal goal of life is being lost. Concisely, it may be said that everyone is a thief and is liable to be punished. Punishment by the laws of nature takes place in the cycle of birth and death. No one dies fully satisfied by the fulfillment of material desires, for that is not possible. Therefore, at the time of one's death, one is very sorry, being unable to fulfill his desires. By the laws of nature, one is then offered another body to fulfill his unsatisfied desires. And upon taking birth again, accepting another material body, one voluntarily accepts the threefold miseries of life. Translation again. One may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain body and soul together. But one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. So the subject matter of proprietorship and economic development. Unless one is cultivating transcendental knowledge, one will not have proper understanding of proprietorship. One will falsely claim proprietorship. And being on the body platform, one will simply endeavor to accumulate more and more, falsely thinking that the more I have, the more I will enjoy. This is modern theory, which is very prominent all over the world and causing so much of disruption. Vedic culture is not against economic development. But in the Vedic culture, there is a very clear concept and understanding of proprietorship. That there is, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Jagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvamam Shantim Rishyati. People can become happy when they know that there is a Supreme Lord who is actually the proprietor and the enjoyer. He is the Purusha. And very basic instruction actually in Bhagavad Gita. There is Purusha and there is Prakriti. We are Prakriti. There's two types of Prakriti as we understand from Bhagavad Gita. There is generally Prakriti, we mean generally refer to nature, material nature. But living entity also Prakriti. Prakriti means subordinate. There is the Paraprakriti and the Aparaprakriti. Paraprakriti, living entity, Jiva, but still Prakriti. And then there is the Aparaprakriti, material nature. Both are under the control of the Purusha, the original personality of Godhead. So, in quite a few places in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very clearly points out, when we fail to understand this, then we become labeled as thieves. We actually become thieves because we are falsely claiming something that doesn't belong to us. And therefore, under this false conception, the living entity who is devoid of transcendental knowledge, life after life, birth after birth continues this life of very filled with all kinds of hardships. Bhagavad Gita describes the hard struggle of existence. Manasastrani indriyani prakriti stani karsati. When we are forgetting our position as eternal servants of the Lord, as part and parcel. Mamai vangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. That is our actual position. So Prabhupada explains how in Vedic culture, we are not against actually technology. We're not against money. We're not against economic development. But we see it, we understand it in its proper context. As stated here by Srila Prabhupada, economic development should be primarily to meet the basic needs of the body. Prabhupada would say how to maintain, how to keep body and soul together. We've been reading in the last few days how even for householders, a direct statement actually Prabhupada is making, which is for those who may not, those who don't have this, who've not been exposed to the culture of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was telling a few days ago in the purport how Grihasthas should learn to be satisfied with making less money. Isn't it? Purport something like that, which may be difficult initially to understand because the whole training in modern day education and modern way of life is we are working very hard to get some qualifications so we can have a good job to make more money, not to make less money. This is like backward thinking. But the idea is that one should not work very hard. There's a basic principle that is a fundamental principle in Vedic culture. One should not physically work so hard just for the purpose of material acquisition. One should save time. One should minimize one's working activities and saves time for practicing Krishna consciousness in the matter of hearing, especially in the matter of assisting in the mission for spreading Krishna consciousness. So this understanding is not at all easy to convey to those who are totally on the bodily platform. Even sometimes it's difficult to convey to our own devotees, to our own householders. But it is based on this very simple and basic understanding, which we tend to forget very easily, that it is already predestined. Nature has already, it's already fixed up. The more we understand this, actually, it will make automatically, immediately, our lives much more simple. How much wealth we will have in this lifetime is already fixed up. How much of so-called material happiness and material distress will come our way is already determined by the laws of nature. Therefore, devotee is not ultimately concerned, or should not be concerned about so-called comfortable or uncomfortable situation or position, knowing that actually things must happen, and otherwise, as Prabhupada is mentioning here, when our primary focus is on accumulation of wealth, on the material level, then we lose the actual goal and objective of life, and we become subject to the stringent laws of material nature. Specifically, it's mentioned here how just like someone who steals, by the laws of that country, he will be punished. So similarly, if we go against the laws of nature, even though we may not know those laws of nature, we will be punished. We will suffer in so many different ways. So therefore, so many times, so often, Srila Prabhupada would remind us, would instruct us to learn to be satisfied with the minimum. That is not possible unless we are cultivating Krishna consciousness. Just like Kulavetsa Sridham, associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very, very poor. He was he was selling what? Banana leaves. Huh? Banana leaves. You don't get lakhs of rupees selling banana leaves. and although he was living in this very simple way, I mean, he didn't even have a house, didn't have a proper roof, didn't even have a proper jug to drink out of, isn't it? Whatever little money he would get, he would offer 50% of that. He would spend 50%. And it is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how one day Lord Chaitanya came to his so-called house, residence, and he was thirsty, Lord Chaitanya. So he took the broken pot of Sridhar and Sridhar was trying to prevent him. No. Lord Chaitanya was especially pleased to see his devotees who were understanding, just like Raghunath Das Goswami, when he joined after great hardship, after so many attempts in trying to leave his comfortable material situation, because his father was zamindar, he was very opulent. All his material needs were met very easily, but he was not attracted. He wanted to join Lord Chaitanya. Finally, he did. And it's nicely described how from the initial position of being supported, his father finally reluctantly had to accept that, my son, what to do? He ran away and whatnot. We tried it in so many possible ways. So when they learned that he had joined Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, they were sending him money. And he was and the devotees were very happy because every day they would have big feasts. Raghunath Das was inviting everyone for prasadam. I suppose something like you did yesterday. But I was not invited, so then after some time, Lord Chaitanya came to know that devotees, that Raghunath Das was not preparing prasadam for the devotees anymore. So then he was inquiring, what's he doing? He said, well, he thought it was not good to accept money from maybe questionable sources. So he had stopped accepting money from his father, and he started to beg. So Lord Chaitanya was very happy, very pleased. That went on for some time, and then Lord Chaitanya, he would see him begging at I forget one of the entrances of the Jagannath temple. Then after some time, Lord Chaitanya didn't see him there. So he inquired from the devotee. Oh, they told him, Raghunath Das thought that begging maybe is not so good also. It's like, you're depending on others like that. Then what's he doing? Oh, he's collecting what is the waste that is coming out from the kitchen side. He's collecting grains there, and he's subsisting in that way. Chaitanya become even more pleased, very happy. He could see how Raghunath Das, within a very short time, he became very serious about minimizing. I'm not saying that we should all be doing that as he did, but the basic idea of minimizing. And of course, Lord Chaitanya had had gone to that place secretly to actually see for him in his own eyes, with his own eyes, how he was surviving, and he was collecting and washing some grains, some rice that was coming out, rejected, and washing it and whatnot. And Lord Chaitanya, he grabbed that rice and he started to eat it. And he chastised him. Every day you're having this feast and not inviting me. So, in the Vedic culture, Prabhupada also explains how people who were poor, when you brought them in that culture, modern day society now, there's big propaganda that you should not be poor. And therefore we should make all kinds of arrangements to get you out of poverty. Of course, we know in the last so many decades that with all the different policies, with all of the different inventions and arrangements that could be done by the governments all over the world to deal with, let's say, this problem of poverty. To this day, it is a fact, it is established, statistically researched and whatnot, that the rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer. The opposite is actually happening, isn't it? Because we're missing the point. We're missing the point means the point is Krishna. We're missing the essential, basic understanding of what life is all about. And all over the world, actually, every single country in the world, pretty well every single country in the world, is embarked on false, wrong policies of economic development. And it is like they're spending so much money, so much of efforts, etc., to kind of make things balance, and opposite is actually happening. As we know, every single country in the world is very deeply in debt. I believe America may be number one in that area as well. America likes to be number one. We're the number one debtors. So one of the basic important principles that is taught and that is spoken by Chanaka Pandit. There are three principles. Krishna consciousness is, philosophy is very practical. It's not just like up in the, cloud. Whole modern society is in cloud. Your computer is always going to the cloud. Storing everything in the cloud. Huh?
Yeah, cloud storage.
Yeah. So this is this is very wanting to make a point about economy and money. Huh? Yeah, Chanaka, thank you. Chanaka was my link. So Chanaka, what are the three things that actually Chanaka, there are three very practical, extremely practical, we say down to earth practices that if we follow, this will make us happy. Everyone wants to be happy. So Chanaka mentions two things that Prabhupada at different times he repeats, that if one learns to live a localized life, localized living, which modern day society is not at all liking that idea. Rather the opposite. Everyone is like on the move.
Globalization.
Yeah, globalization is a magic word and is what is being promoted. Um, there's globalization and localization. So we want to make this concept of localization, of local, of becoming local. We want to make this concept global. Globally, everyone should be localized.
Globally open.
This is globalization, proper concept of globalization. Yeah, localized. This was the tradition. This was the culture. This is this is how, for example, the residents. I heard actually, yeah, the residents of Vrindavan were fully, completely following that. And I heard how maybe not that long ago, also, some elders from village, they were always very afraid if somebody would go out of the village, you know. And I think it was also Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj who was advising his Prabhu. He would call Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhu. Because he was illiterate, and Bhakti Siddhanta was like, you know, speaking words that, I mean, he spoke in English, and English that even Englishmen could not understand. His level of English was so advanced, actually. I mean, we you know. So he was advising him, don't go to Calcutta. Stay in Mayapur. Don't go to Calcutta. Don't go to the city. And we know, I mean, you know, when I was in Cambodia, more and more young people would be going to the city to get education. And then, of course, getting involved in intoxication, gambling, and all kinds of illicit activities. So living localized way is recommended, Vedic culture, village life, therefore. And secondly, what's the second one? Second instruction given by Chanakya, to be happy. One should not be a debtor. We should not have debts. We should not use our credit cards or minimize. Yeah, because nowadays it's so easy, isn't it? It used to be that you have to fill a form and you have to have certain qualifications to get a credit card. Nowadays they just want to give it to you.
Giving.
They want to force you to take it, right? And you don't have to pay anything for the, you know, no interest for the first year. Or buy, you know, and people
No
also.
Just no documents needed.
No
documents needed.
No, yeah, nothing. They know that if as soon as you get it in your hands, you're gonna start using it, right? And then you're caught up. So living localized, very important, and totally unknown and misunderstood in modern day society. Secondly, avoid borrowing money, avoid debts, because immediately we become anxious. You know, it's like I owe him money, and then also at any time, just like this is what happened to so many of our farmers here in India who have committed suicide and who continue to commit suicide because they were allured into getting taking up modern agriculture, for which you need a tractor, you need to invest so much money, so they had to borrow money, and then something happened, they couldn't pay back the money, and I don't know what the statistics are now, but does anyone know what are the statistics? Actually, it was mentioned in one documentary called what is it? Miti. Miti? Have you seen it? Miti. Yeah, very powerful document that came out a few years ago. And in there it mentions how here in India, I don't know if the situation hasn't changed positively in the sense of reducing, but at that time they were calculating that somebody was committing suicide in India every 30 minutes, or if not every 30 seconds. So many people, because of having actually not followed this instruction of Chanakya. There's a third instruction which is given by Yudhishthira Maharaj, how to become happy. Anyone know? Nobody wants to be happy. Third instruction, Yudhishthira Maharaj says that if one eats properly, he'll be happy. Eating. Yeah. And we know how in modern day society that is a big problem. Of course, on the one side you have people who have no food and therefore they're starving. And then on the other side you have people who have overeating. Yeah. And that is a major problem. So therefore, one of the basic sciences, it is part of the Vedic sciences on economy. Economy is a very important subject matter. Technology, all these things are not rejected by the Vedic culture, but they are taught and they are properly understood. And therefore, these things are not known in modern day society because they're not taught in the schools, isn't it? Because the basic concepts of Krishna consciousness, unfortunately, are absent. I'll just read the verse again here, and if there's any comment or question. So this is translation to text number 8. One may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain body and soul together. But one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. Anyone? Yes.
In terms of practicing simple life, unless one immediately move to the land, and it is very less people to follow, even among our devotees.
Yes.
Already many hearing of this explanation, but no one is started to implement the practical life on the land of Mother Nature.
Right.
So what I feel is, as soon as possible, that one have to start, because pioneer is less. To voluntarily start, then other will follow.
So how to create pioneers?
Yeah, land should be available. If now
land, so much land is everywhere.
Yes.
Actually.
If, for example, for myself, is more into roaming around and explaining, and devotees will, even yourself is roaming like this. You are not practicing. You are not practicing.
Yes.
When I was in Cambodia with Kumudaksa and Gunata Prabhu, we are so happy in the land because we are focusing our life in
Yes,
the land.
yes.
But why this is break? Because one have to preach in the city and the other have to settle. Because if one alone, kaya marah na paya bala. Alone, we are not strong.
Yes, yes.
So many times I was thinking if we start, because newly I was traveling in Kalimantan and I found a very good plan where we discussing 5 years ago with Teja Wisraya Prabhu from the NV, and he started in that land.
Who is that?
Prabhu Teja.
Oh, acha. Okay.
Yeah. He started along with 5 families,
How much land?
about 50 hectares of land.
50.
Yeah.
Okay, not 15. 50 actually, that's 150
The
acres. That's
only he missed the guidance because he started palm oil plantation.
He started what foundation?
Palm oil.
Palm oil.
Palm oil.
Palm oil.
Yeah.
Garden.
Estate. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So in that land, big forest, deep forest, big wood.
Uh-huh.
The land is very fertile.
Could make many kutirs.
Can make many kutir. If there you can make very nice kutir, very good wood, good log.
So you want to move there?
That is actually Guru Maharaj. Exactly.
You want to stop traveling and tell people what they should do. You're gonna do what? Yeah.
Yeah. If in terms of Indonesia, that is my first choice now. Because it's
Yeah, you have been roaming around quite a bit actually.
Yes. Guru
For
Maharaj.
many.
That's why I would like actually come with a request where I should be settled and start implement this practical life and will invite devotees to stay and following the explanation.
You mean that the purpose, if they are read on that land, will be more powerful than if one is roaming around?
Yeah, and many devotees, even among us, even among my god brothers, hey, you are still also using this when you will start that life.
Yes.
So it's always actually.
But
Yeah.
but they are people are always giving false arguments, you know. Of course, what you're saying is very important, that one can speak about and encourage others to take up a particular lifestyle, but unless there are examples of that lifestyle being demonstrated enough, and unless we ourselves, then people will be less inclined to believe and to follow. Yeah. So you want to be a pioneer in Kalimantan? Eh?
Yes. Yes, you
want. We need, we have a lot of land in Kalimantan. Is one big island. Indonesia has about what, 15,000 islands?
17,500.
I'm sorry. 17,505, maybe, or something. 17,500 islands. They'll pick your island, right? I mean, maybe we can buy some islands. So Kalimantan is one of the important islands. I think it's Kalimantan that first people from India came, no? East Kalimantan? I heard many years ago.
Look like between Kalimantan and Sumatra.
And Sumatra.
Yes.
That's okay. Anyways, Kalimantan, we have devotees there since many years, and we have 2 important projects. One is called Ganga Sagar Baru.
Yeah.
It was started after Gita Nagari Baru. And we have maybe 120 hectares, no? 120 hectares of land there already. Then we have another place that's smaller near Palangkaraya.
Yes.
Near Palangkaraya. Anyway, we can discuss a little later.
Yeah, this is actually a very serious topic.
This is a very serious proposal, Maharaj.
And it is
I've come all the way from Indonesia to talk to you about
and it
this.
is very cheap maintenance, Guru Maharaj.
Well, of course, when you have
Very cheap.
huge trees and forest is like happiness.
And if we start there a community, 2 hectares of land, somebody will offer to us.
Is it?
2 hectares forest. The family of Dhruva Prabhu.
Achha. They have land there?
They have land 15 hectares.
15
want-
hectares.
Yeah. They want to offer 2 hectares. And immediately we can register that
I see.
forest.
But Teja has purchased land?
He have his personal land 8 hectares. But he only chopped down all the trees.
I see. Right.
And that army man which we met in Kalimantan long ago, he have 20 hectares.
But you're telling about 50 hectares?
All together is 50 hectares. All together, which is belong to devotee.
I see.
Yeah. And 20 hectares belong to him. 8 hectares belong to Teja.
Okay. Whenever I go to Indonesia, we talk about land, acquiring land, like the zamindar mentality.
And there still the system, if we are Kshatriya, how much land we can open
Yeah,
and we can handle
yeah.
and strongly there. And that much wealth is yours.
Huge land. You know, Indonesia as a country is what is it? In terms of is the 4th largest populated country in the world, and it's spread over 3 time zones. We think of Indonesia. When we think of Indonesia, people think of Bali, and they don't. People, unless they go to Indonesia, they cannot understand how big is Indonesia. You know, I mean, it's spread out 17,500. I got it right now. Islands, you know, and some of those islands are huge. And Kalimantan is one of those huge islands. So there's huge amount of open land, even though it's you know, the 4th largest populated country in the world. Anyways, we can follow up on that. Definitely, land matters. Acquiring land is always very interesting subject matter and very important one, actually. And more of our devotees should follow in your footsteps.
Water available and spot for recreation. We can make our own pond, lake,
Swimming pool.
swimming pool.
I can invite foreigners if you make a swimming
Very
pool.
nice. Rain available, abundant rain
Yes, yes.
and hot. No winter,
No, yeah, no.
but there is a good breeze.
You can make a second Bali there.
Yes, madam.
Okay, now we know that his coming to India was a little motivated.
All kind of firm is available there.
Okay, coming back to the purport and to the verse. Any question on? Well, this is dealing directly, but nobody answered my question. There's a 3rd instruction. Oh yeah, we did mention it. By Yudhishthira Maharaj.
If one can digest the food nicely.
That was the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point, which I didn't make actually. But yeah, about food. If one can digest, one will be happy. And you ask anybody who cannot digest, he'll tell you.
Yeah,
Of course.
and also not regular timing
Yeah.
is there we can expect.
Yeah. When we are not living localized, then our whole schedule becomes upside down. Everything. Yeah. These are very, very practical and yes, Prabhupada would say he was walking, and I think in maybe one of our projects, one of our rural projects, I forget where exactly, but he was walking with his cane, then he stopped, and then he took his cane and he was digging a little bit. He says, "There's gold here. Land is gold. Land is gold." because so many things can come out of the land. You know, he's producing gold. Yeah. The natural way, wealth, natural wealth. And I was mentioning the other day how actually more and more this will be a very hard lesson for modern leaders, because their so-called wealth is not based on actual things that are permanent as things are in the material world, but real wealth, as we learn from Prabhupada and Vedic culture, are in things that are there, that are present. You know, real wealth is not simply money. Real wealth is land and jewelry and
if we
animals.
speak of 2 days ago explanation about 3 things that Grandfather Vishma said.
Yeah.
Of nature.
Cows, land, and knowledge.
Yeah, cows, land, and knowledge.
Right.
Land is already there with forest, with water.
Yes.
With access of energy.
Yes.
And cow immediately one can donate 100 of cows.
Is it?
Already one devotee from Dubai offered to donate 100 of cows.
From where?
From Dubai.
Cows from Dubai.
Cows in Dubai now.
They're in Dubai.
Yeah. Already vaccinated. He ready to donate.
They come Dubai to Indonesia.
Yeah. He will pay all the transportation. Indian cow.
Can't go wrong with that. But you need good amount of land.
Yes. So that's why we need to start.
Yeah.
If we start, and we can expand.
Right. Yes. Anyway, something to be followed.
Yeah. So
To be.
I
Yeah.
want to say, unless one is start, or unless I start in one place, then nothing will happen.
Actually, this is not the first time he's telling me this.
So at least I want to start for 5 years. After 5 years, a few devotees come, then I can.
A 5-year vrata in the making here.
Because I feel 5 years, if we start in one place.
Yes, because after 5 years you will have less energy.
Yeah, less energy. And if now we plant the coconut trees, after 5 years, they already grown and give fruit. That is our experience in Gita Nagari.
Yeah, correct.
GNB.
Yeah.
We plant, and 5 years already giving fruit, and now a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing actually need to buy from outside.
Again,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only guidance is less, because less devotees is practicing using what they grow.
Yeah.
Then they are thinking about something.
But devotees that Genbe, they should make another Genbe.
Yeah, that's why another Genbe, according to our discussion with Prabhupada.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting, to say the least. You know, we'll ask you about prices later on. Any other quick comment, or so we can close for now? Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki, Gaura Pimanandi.